So it's 1964, and this deaf physicist builds the small device that lets this old teletype machine send messages over an ordinary phone line. He just wants to talk to another deaf person like anyone else could. So what he built was a workaround, years before it was even legal for the rest of the country to build one. And the deaf community was already using that exact technology 3 decades before it became the modem sitting in every American home. I'm Bethany Guajardo, and I'm a CODA, which means child of deaf adults. And starting in the 2nd grade, I was interpreting my own parent-teacher conferences, and nobody checked my work because nobody had built a system for it at all. So I built myself into a workaround, and that's a similar pattern to this whole talk, which is pretty much the same thing, but just at a much smaller scale. In the same year as the teletype, Bell Labs unveils actual video calling at the World's Fair. But just before the event, the real first video call in history took place between 2 deaf teenagers, and one of them happened to go to a school named after Alexander Graham Bell, which is ironic because it winds up being too expensive for Bell Labs to bring to market at scale, and then it gets shelved. But it didn't stop there. Deaf pager networks eventually became SMS and every haptic notification on our phones. The video relay service eventually became FaceTime and Zoom, and closed captioning that was fought for and hand-built decades before any institution built a real system for it, which is why we can watch videos on mute while doom scrolling now. And it even reaches into filmmaking, which is the exact technique behind modern motion capture, which is what they've used in special effects for blockbuster films and video game development, and that was first proven on a deaf signer's hands and face decades before Hollywood ever touched it. So when you solve for the constrained user, you build what everyone else eventually needs. And the part that doesn't make it a feel-good version of the story is that we have industries that built on top of these innovations, and they don't just use it. Sometimes they will show up and take over, and they don't even pretend otherwise. So at South by Southwest, I'll walk through exactly how that happens and why it's been running the same playbook for over a century. And I don't think that has to be the ending. I'm building something that is an ASL AI technology which is structured from day one so that the community that makes this innovation necessary is also the community that owns a piece of what it becomes. And I don't know yet if it's going to work, but I do know what happens when nobody tries. The Deaf Community Built Telecom. Big tech just uses it. And the only question left is, who gets to own what happens next?